Hello everyone, in this video we will be solving the worksheets that you had over the week. So please have those worksheets next to you so that you can correct them while we solve them together. So let's get started with problem number 1. As you can see, I've already made the little shapes that we use to solve percentage problems right here. So let's get started with problem number 1. It says that the starting price of a television was 800 euros and there was a 20% discount, and it asks how much money, how many euros basically, is the discount, meaning how much money will I not be paying. Now the starting price we said was 800 euros and the discount is 20%. And normally I'd put minus 20% in order to find the difference to see how much I'm actually paying. But here the problem is actually asking me how much the discount is. So I need to find this. I need to find how much money I did not pay. So basically 20% of 800. So my unknown is here. How much money did I not pay? So if I do the cross product, I get 100x needs to be equal to 20 times 800. So 100x needs to be equal to 2 by 8 makes 16, and then I add 1, 2, 3 zeros. Let's actually write this a little lower because you can't see it. So 100x needs to be equal to 16,000. If I divide both sides by 100, what I get is that x needs to be equal to 160. So I did not pay 160 euros. Now, in the next problem, we have again a television that costs 800 euros and it has a 20% discount exactly like before. But now what we're being asked is what is the final price after the discount? Now, again, you could solve this as a percentage problem, or you could say, well, since I didn't pay, I know from the previous problem I didn't pay 160 euros, so I could just do 800, take away 160, and that'd be it. If I hadn't this, however, if I didn't have this, if I hadn't just done that problem, I would say 800 is the starting price. There's a discount of minus 20%. Now I put that in, see? So what do I pay? I pay the difference, meaning 80%. So what's 80% of 800? That's supposed to be an X. I take the cross product, and what I get is 100x needs to be equal to 80 times 800. So 100x needs to be equal to 8 by 8 makes 64, and then added 3 zeros, 64,000. So x needs to be equal. I divide both sides by 100, and what I get is 640. Perfect. So in the end, the price of the television was 640 euros. Next up, we have a television that is being sold, and it's on discount for 20%. And we're being told basically that what we didn't pay is 160 euros. We're being asked what the starting price was. Now, this might remind you of problems that we just solved. But let's say I hadn't solved them. What would I say? Well, I don't know what the starting price was. That's what I'm being asked. So that's where I need to put the X. What I am being told is that there was a 20% discount, and that in the end I did not pay 160 euros. Now, I could just leave this as minus 20, but because it'll get confusing in the multiplication, I could simply say that since I'm looking for 20%, basically I'm saying that 20% of the whole is 160. I could just leave it like this. And we take the cross product, and what we get is that 20x needs to be equal to 160 times 100. So 20x needs to be equal to, let's make this a little larger. Why are these so small? There we go. 16,000. Divide both sides by 20, and what I get is that x is equal to 800. Right? So the starting price was 800 euros, just like before. Next up, we have the case where we know the starting price, we know how much we didn't pay, and we're being asked how much the discount was. So let's see, the starting price we're being told is 800, and we didn't pay 160. We're being asked how much the discount was. So our unknown is here. What percentage do we not pay? Basically, it's a problem that's asking what percentage of 800 is 160. I could solve it like that. If you could solve it like that, that's perfectly fine. But here I could take the cross product and I'd get 800x needs to be equal to 160 times 100. So I have 800x needs to be equal to 16,000. 16,000. So I divide both sides by 800, and what I get is that x is equal to 20. Yeah. So, yeah, as we already knew from the previous problem, my discount is 20%. Okay, so check your answers. Make sure you got them correct. Pause the video if you have to, and let's move on to the next one. And we have again 4 problems, so let's see. Here we have that a salesman bought a fridge for 500 euros and he sold it 30%, basically 30% more expensive. So how much money did he make? Basically, this problem is asking what is 30% of 500? So my starting price is 500 and I'm paying 30% more, and I need to find out. It's not asking what the final price was. It's asking how much more money did he sell the fridge. So how much is that 30% increase? So here I take the cross product and I say 100x needs to be equal to 30 times 500. So 100x needs to be equal to 15,000. So x needs to be equal to 150. So he has sold it 150 euros extra, basically, more than what he bought it for. Next up, we have that the fridge was bought for 500 euros. We know that it was sold at a 30% increase, and we're being asked how much money was the fridge sold for. Now we know how much more he asked for the fridge when he sold it. So we could just do 500 and 150 makes 650. But if we hadn't done this problem, what we would say is starting price is 500. It's giving it 30% more. And since it's 30% more, it's plus 30. So in the end, we will be paying 130% of the initial price, which is what? And now I take the cross product, so 100x needs to be equal to 130 times 500. So 100x needs to be equal to what? Let's think. How much is 13 times 5? Let's think. That would be 65. And then add 3 zeros. Yeah. Yes. So x, if I divide both sides by 100, that would give me 650. So in the end, he sold it for 650 euros, just like we expected. Next up, we know that the salesman sold the fridge 30% more than what he gave for it. We know that his basically how much money he made was 150 euros, so that was the extra 30%. We're being asked how much money he paid for it. So that's the starting price. Okay, so here we have the cross product would give me 30x is equal to 150 times 100. Okay, so 30x needs to be equal to 150 and then add 2 zeros, 15,000. So x needs to be equal, if I divide both sides by 30, what I get is that x is equal to 500. Yeah, because the starting price was 500, as we already knew. Problem 4 says that the salesman bought the fridge for 500 euros. Okay, so that's the starting price. And he sold it for an extra 150 euros. We're being asked by how much, what percent more did he charge, basically. What percent was his profit? So we already know it's 30% from here, from the previous problems. We already know. But if we hadn't done the previous problems, what we would say is we would put this here, and we would say, okay, let's do the cross product. That would be 500x needs to be equal to 150 with 2 zeros. So that's 15,000. And then we say, we divide both sides by 500, and what we get is 30. So yeah, he sold it 30% more expensive than what he bought it. I didn't write that first line, sorry. Just did it really quickly. 150 times 100. And that's all of them. So again, check if you did them correctly. And weekend's coming up, so do your homework. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a good day.